And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all of you out there in Woo Nation. Back again, 1 week later. We are 1 week away from actual full-on NFL football action starting up. But tonight, a special presentation as we bring you live draft coverage of the 2024 Woo Fantasy Invitational. That is right. It's back again. It's your boys. Woo!
Woo!
Fantasy, right here, brought to you as always by Rotoballer.com. That is right, Rotoballer.com, your one-stop shop for all things fantasy. Go check it out today, Rotoballer.com. Sign up for the premium pass. Use promo code WOO for a special discount at checkout. And that is right, ladies and gentlemen. You're joining, of course, the Roto Superstar himself, co-host here for the evening again, the real FF GOAT, Mr. Nick Hefley. How are we doing, sir?
Join with the real FF GOAT right here. Man, I'm great. It's one of my favorite drafts of the year. The format's a little different. We'll get into it just in case it's your first time joining us for the Woo Fantasy Invitational there. But no, man, excited. People are going to kind of get to see us a little bit, maybe in a little different form. It's almost like you and I are drafting back to back, but you're fifth. I'm seventh out of 12 here. It's going to be interesting.
That is right. Yeah. Drafting basically right there in the middle. So you and I are kind of essentially back to back, like you mentioned. This is a very long-standing home league that we would like to refer to that as. We've been doing this league for a while. Special scoring in this league here, just to kind of change things up compared to what you might see out there with your standard leagues, and whether it be half-point PPR, full-point PPR. This league is full-point PPR, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, of course, but the kicker here and the caveat is that you get a point for every 5 yards rushing for the running backs. So it adds a little bit of kind of extra flavor to the running backs where, in most of the leagues, we've talked about it on this podcast ad nauseum over the course of the last couple of months of how you're seeing the drafts unfold and a lot of wide receivers early on, people starting deep on wide receiver roster build. That kind of, when you get into a running back scoring system like this, it really kind of changes things. It makes the running backs matter a little bit more as opposed to just going straight into wide receiver. But it's start 2 running back, start 3 wide receiver, tight end, flex. This is an IDP league as well. We're going to be drafting 1 defensive player from all 3 levels tonight. That's defensive line and also linebacker, and then also in the backfield with safety cornerbacks as well. So deep draft, 20 rounds. We're going to get things started here in the next few minutes. Going to be at the top of the hour is when we're going to kick this draft off. But really want to kind of touch on, obviously, the news of the day, the breaking news that happened just about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. Brandon Ayuk. Dante Foreman back with the Browns. That's our big news, ladies and gentlemen.
I can't keep up these days.
But no, Brandon Ayuk officially back with the San Francisco 49ers, 4 years, $120 million with a $76 million guarantee. One domino has fallen again after earlier in the week. We had CeeDee Lamb signed with the Cowboys, so things are starting to fall into place for the 2024 season. The one last cog in the wheel, so to speak, is Jamar Chase. We're still waiting that situation out. But how are you feeling now? Ayuk, the drama's over. Back with San Francisco, not traded to Pittsburgh, not traded to Cleveland. How are you feeling now? What's your confidence level with Ayuk?
I mean, he has and literally will not move on my board. I mean, I was thinking he would definitely be one of those guys that maybe if traded to the right situation could vault up a little bit, but being the number 1 option on something like that. But Pittsburgh wouldn't have been a good scenario. I don't think Cleveland would have been. So really for him, I think this is the best case scenario. I also, in keeping with that, I also think this is a good thing for Jamar Chase. I think that the market is level set, exactly what he's going to be seeking. So for me, now that he has signed, that domino has fallen, I would expect to see Jamar Chase before we get to Labor Day, signed a deal and or back in camp. I bet so.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It feels like a lot of that is the issue. He's kind of sticking it to the team. It feels like, coach. The coach comes out earlier in the week, says, we're going to expect to have Jamar Chase on the field practicing as normal, and then of course the very next day he shows up to practice 13 minutes late, street clothes, not practicing with the team. So it feels like he's just kind of trying to sticking it to the coaching staff,
sticking it to the man.
Yeah, trying to kind of make his point. Even though he has 2 years left on his deal, he's trying to stick it to the team and let them know he is wanting that contract.
5 minutes left to go here. So what are you thinking? What's your mindset coming into your draft or drafting fifth? What are your thoughts coming in?
Well, that's for me at the fifth spot. We kind of talked about it earlier on today, just a little bit offline, is kind of how this first round is going to play out. You don't really know the first few picks. Is it going to kind of go to the standard of what we see with a lot of these players that are coming off the board, or is it going to kind of change and they're going to have some wild cards in play here? So that's, for me, I'm obviously going to let the first 4 picks come off the board. I'm going to see where we're at, what players available. I don't have a strategy coming into this. I want to let things just kind of fall in my lap, and instead of getting all hyped up and think I'm going to have this player available to me at this spot, like we did like the SBFFC back a few weekends ago that we talked about previously, where you can determine your draft spot. That is a spot where hey, I know if I get this spot here, I'm going to have a player kind of be at my disposal at that spot in the first round. Whereas this here is a little bit more of a wild card. Don't really know how things are going to play out. So that's kind of what we're looking at this point before the draft gets started up. At least for me, that's kind of how things they're looking currently. But obviously too, for everybody out there that's joining us through YouTube, joining the stream and everything, do want to throw it out there to you. If you've got last minute drafts that you're getting prepared for this weekend, you got questions, we are not afraid to answer those questions for you tonight. So shoot those into the comments section. Give us a like, especially on this video. That would be greatly appreciated. So let's have a little fun tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I want to do with this draft coverage.
I mean, and as we're going through the draft on our end too, like, fire up questions. Hey, why did you pick this guy over this guy? Give me your thought process, and we can go through that. So we're delving in. If you got your keeper questions, let us know. We're here to help. Even though we're going to be drafting, we're still here to help you guys. And guess what? To all those league mates here that are joining in, think you're going to get some insight on our picks, tough luck.
That's right. Yeah, we're not going to divulge too much of that at all, as opposed to years past. We're going to try to do a little bit something different tonight too. We're going to cover the draft and have the board available to you. Thanks to my good friends over at Fantasy Pros. The Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard is going to be our backdrop for tonight's coverage of the Woo Fantasy Invitational. Obviously, we're going to be doing this draft on the ESPN platform, and not happy about the draft board only being available on the app itself and not on desktop. That was a little bit of a curveball thrown my way this evening. I was expecting to have the draft board on ESPN there and ready to view, but sad bit of business there. So for that, we're going to give ESPN a little bit of this. Thanks, ESPN. We're not too pleased with that.
I don't understand how it's so difficult to just
make
it available on your desktop as well. I don't get that.
I mean, get with the times. It took them 20 years, 25 years. Who knows how long now of being a draft platform, and it's just now taking you this long to get a draft board live, where just about any other drafting site that you can get on has live draft boards for viewing. It's a little bit frustrating as a fantasy manager, for sure.
I was trying to look and go around and see if there was a different way to be able to click on, hey, maybe we missed that there. No, we didn't miss anything. That's what it is.
No, that's troo. So
you got your last three in here. We got under a minute here. We got Dante, Bill, and Fisk all not in. Just FYI.
Yep. Let me shoot Dante a message.
Here, I'll shoot. Nope, never mind. Jacob in. Sprague.
Yeah, and Bill, last one. That'll all need to be in the draft. Now, obviously, sending out a group message to everyone to let them know to make sure to hop into this draft tonight. So should be everyone ready to go here in just a minute, but we're about to get the draft underway, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, sharing time.
All right. So now we're going to share a little bit. Going to refresh the page here, get the draft loading on the software.
Oh, 2 minutes a pick here. Well, some people this will take 20 seconds. Some people full 2 minutes, I'm sure. Even for pick number one.
As far as things are going right now, I mean, we've got Rick Lashney, our good friend from the SBFFC. We've drafted with him for several years now in the main event.
He's from Baton Rouge. He's one of those guys that if you talk to, you need subtitles, just like what was the show, Swamp People or whatever. Yeah, he's that guy.
He's first year in the league for Rick, and comes in and draws the first pick in this draft. Did the 100-yard rush to determine this draft order also, by the way. So luck of the draw for the new blood in the league this year. Rick had the number one pick.
Hey, Rick is an overall champ of the SBFFC. You've heard us talk about it. True. Rick took down 220-something people, 3 years ago? Of course, the same year that he was in my division. Somehow, I think this was Justin Jefferson's rookie year. So whatever year that was, 20 or 21, and just dominated he and his cohort, which, I mean, let's face it, he couldn't do it by himself. But
True.
Let's see. What do we have going on here? Should we start the clock here?
We have Jamar Chase, first pick off the board to Rick.
That would be
a little bit of surprise there.
Okay, 10-4. Okay,
well,
got it. Okay, somehow my chatter thing was.
Let's bring that back off here.
Well, RJ is your pick 9, so it won't let you pick just yet.
No, not yet. No. But the Jamar Chase pick at 1 overall. How are you feeling about that?
Ooh, not good in this league. I like that in some of the other leagues that we've been doing with the format here. I'm definitely not a fan of that pick. Even though I have Jamar Chase as my number 1 overall wide receiver, I'm not a fan of this pick here. So why does my chat thing keep? Good night. Okay, well there it is to you. I do not understand.
Yep.
Huh. My chat, you would think it keeps with the bottom, but it people make a pick and anyway, I'll shut up and let you make your pick here.
Let's see. So we got Christian McCaffrey off the board 2, followed by Tyreek Hill is the pick at number 3, followed by Bijan Robinson, the pick number 4, which puts me on the clock. And what shall I do here? It's going to be and I think what we're going to do, based on the scoring format and everything, I've not been the biggest proponent of going running back in the first round, but based on how the scoring format is, I think that's pretty much going to lead me into my decision here, and I'm going to go with Mr. Breece Hall, pick off the board to me 5th overall.
I think it's a pick you had to make. I would have laughed directly in your face had you not made that pick. So
It's tough when you've got CD Lamb on the board.
it is. I mean, he's my number 2 wide receiver, my number 3 overall player. Somebody that's definitely tough to pass up at this point, but like you said, scoring format, it is a little more dependent on. We're getting the draft order is incorrect.
Draft order is correct.
Justin 3, me 7, Bill 8, RJ 9, Justin 10. Yep.
Yeah, draft order is correct. Put it in immediately after.
All right, Kamish, head it up here.
Yeah, immediately after running the, immediately after the 100-yard dash was ran, I put in the pick. So that draft order is correct. So we got Jonathan Taylor coming off the board at 6. It's Neil. Saquon Barkley is the pick
for me.
7 for you.
Yeah, definitely wanted JT right there, but scoring format, I am absolutely going to take Saquon, who I view as a top 5 running back, especially in this format. He is easily the pick for me right here.
Yeah, I'm trying to work through the draft board here to get set up. It's got a little bit of a complication here, it looks like. Now I'm looking at it.
You being able to put it up there?
Yeah, just to be able to broadcast it. Kind of having a little bit of a technical glitch currently with this.
What if you can just throw the board up over there?
Well, of course, too, like I said, is thanks to ESPN for hitting us with the no live draft board once again this year. Tony D jumping in here asking if this is a points per rush league. No, it is not a points per rush league. We actually just give that extra bonus of point for every 5 yards rushing in this league as opposed to your standard 10. It does add a little bit more to the running back. Kind of makes them a little bit more valuable, especially earlier on. So then after the CD Lamb pick by Bill at 8, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown coming off the board at 9. Jahmyr Gibbs coming off the board there to our friend Mr. Charisma, Justin Farley.
Wow.
Followed by A.J. Brown.
Little brother trying to do things at the end here. Huh.
So we got A.J. Brown to Jacob Fisk. Then your brother goes back-to-back running back because he is on the end and he's going to have to reach for players that he wants. Takes Isaiah Pacheco, followed by Travis Etienne to round out and begin round 2, followed by Garrett Wilson to Jacob Fisk, who started off with wide receiver in this draft here.
Yeah, I wonder if it looks like RJ and Rick may have made a little error there, thinking that each one was a different person. Wasn't it?
Oops. Happens.
I'll be.
Yeah, you gotta be able to kind of keep up with things. That's for sure. Let's try to.
Life comes at you quick.
Get back in here. It definitely does. That is for sure. Let's see.
How you looking over there?
Trying to get it back loaded again. That's for sure. Just a little bit of the glitch.
No, we just fixed the glitch.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Woo.
All right, so we got Justin Jefferson now off the board to Farley. So Farley starting with Jahmyr Gibbs and Justin Jefferson in this format is that's a pretty hot start there. I like that.
Jefferson. I think it's the first time I've seen Jefferson drop that far. I mean, granted, we are in a little bit of a different league here, but Jefferson falling in the third pick in round 2, that's what they say is value.
That is absolutely the case there for sure. I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Then
keep on getting these guys going. Let's get these guys going down the board here just a little bit. So I am definitely targeting 2 guys without this fall. I got 1 pick, so I can tell you. So going either Kyron Williams or with the format, Kyron Williams or Derrick Henry is who I will be targeting here.
So which would lead me into asking you the question is, how are you feeling about the Kyron Williams news from this week that he's going to be returning punts?
If I only knew I could get him in round 3, I would wait right here. No, I'm you may not know, Kyron Williams returned kicks last year too. Like, it's not a new thing. If anything, just gives him more time out there. Getting ready to draft him, I'm going to draft him and be confident.
All right, so you're going to take Kyron Williams.
No worries whatsoever. No worries whatsoever.
Gotcha. Second round here.
What do you think about him? Because I think you think a little bit differently than I do on this.
I mean, I've gotten a little bit more off of him. Let's say over the last few days, he was actually in my 3 running backs to bust article that is available now on fantasypros.com. So go and check that out. So I actually did have him listed in that article. I kind of feel like he's going to be kind of a running back that's going to be a little bit. He's going to kind of fall off a little bit, I think, this year.
I mean, I would imagine he'd fall off a little bit, but I think he's still going to be kind of the bell cow in this offense here. I think even if he cedes a little bit of time to Blake Corum out there, he's still going to be very fantasy relevant and worthy. So,
sure, I'll give you that. It's got Neil still on the board
here.
Neil goes with Puka Nacua as his selection here, which we get the news today, of course, that he is going to practice in full, should be ready for week 1. So that should be good news for Puka Nacua drafters out there potentially. So for me, what I'm looking at here on the board, got a few things kind of in play here.
Got some things cooking.
But kind of based on how the rest of the board's going to play out, let's see. Let me look here. Kind of changes things a little bit based on how the news came out today.
No wonder you have 2 minutes to pick here. You need all the time to be able to think here, apparently.
Well, it's also, too, on top of that, I mean, you have to factor in the broadcasting this here draft and talking about it and kind of going over the picks. And, we wanted to be able to discuss things in between. So, for me, that's kind of something we wanted to kind of keep in mind there as well. But let's see.
Boop, 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 boop.
I don't want to do it, but I've gotten so much of him already. But we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger. And we're going to take Rachaad White here.
Definitely the next ranked running back on my board, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's he's a guy that we have taken in several drafts. I know I've taken him plenty of times already. It's just kind of felt like the obvious pick. Just you have to at this point in time you have to kind of judge based on how the board's playing out and looking at possibilities of what's going to be available to you in the next round.
Sure.
So that's what I was kind of looking at there is really more or less kind of playing the board and what might potentially be coming back to me. So then we have, looks like Marvin Harrison Jr. was the pick right behind me, followed by Chris Olave. And now back over to Dante here.
Dante's all about Josh Jacobs this year.
Well, I mean that's the news. With AJ Dillon going on IR for the rest of the he's going to be missing the 2024 season. That's kind of something that can potentially change some things. They're especially give Jacobs a little bit more run early on in the year, where he's going to get a little bit more of a workload. I think so, especially like what we talked about in this format, it's going to definitely going to change some things there. He's going to have a lot more of that usage early on.
Usage. There it is. All right. Interesting. Okay.
So we got James Cook followed by Kenneth Walker to start round 3 to Rick.
Not selecting a running back on the first pick. They're not getting CMC. Cook and Walker, not a horrible thing in this draft in this format.
Very true. That was definitely one that I was potentially looking at there myself. And that was kind of the judgment call that I had to make was whether or not I was going to be able to get Kenneth Walker coming back to me on the route in round 3. So I'm kind of glad that I went ahead and got Rachaad White there, was able to go ahead and double up at running back to begin this draft.
Sure. Because I do not think he would have made it back.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Alvin Kamara. Don't like him. Definitely do not like him as much in this format. I think with the PPR league is nice for him, but him being a little lax as far as the rushing yards go, doesn't do his numbers in this league much justice.
Absolutely, I will wholeheartedly agree with that. That's
I will echo those sentiments.
That's for sure.
You're on deck here. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on
where you're gonna go.
I'm gonna be on deck.
I feel like I know what way you're going.
You think?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So Devon Achane comes off the board right in front of me. I actually would have had a very hard time not taking Devon Achane there and starting with 3 running backs. Had that actually fell.
Yeah, he fell a little bit further than I think that I would have expected.
Right. So now that brings it to me, and got a few options that I'm looking at. Got see. There's several options here that I'm looking at, wide receiver wise, especially. Don't know what I want to do though. Let's see. So, golly, there's a lot of. I'm definitely at my wit's end with this pick, but I think I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go ahead and get my first wide receiver on the board, and I'm going to select Nico Collins.
Oh, wow. Nope, I did not know what you were doing.
Pulled a little swerve on you, huh?
Little swervy swerve there. I'm going to be sitting in your same boat here. Looking at a couple things. Yeah, I'm kind of going to be glad, Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I don't mind that move.
So kind of trying to get it. I'm going to get us back on track here. I'm going through and I'm going to do the manual entry.
Sure.
And that way we can kind of get the board back
there we go.
to speed here.
Well, I'll hold off just a sec so you can continue to update.
Oh, no, you're good.
Sure? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, there it is.
Oh, so you wanted to
go ahead and take well, let's look one more time here.
Yeah, so we had
I think I know it was. I'm going to go ahead and join you here with my top ranked wide receiver on the board. Staying in town with the Dirty Birds and going Drake London.
Well, and I think that's probably what you thought I was about to do.
I actually, yeah, I'm glad you didn't. Thank you.
Was that you probably thought I was about to go Drake London, but I do have Nico Collins ranked slightly ahead on my board, so I had to kind of go with my gut there and take my highest rated ranked wide receiver.
Sure.
That's what we wound up doing there. So let's see, Wilson Jefferson. Kind of get this board back on track. Items. Your pick of Kyron there.
You need me to read them off there? You got?
Oh no, I'm looking at them. Getting them here. Harrison Olave.
Any surprise as you're putting these picks in? What's your biggest surprises here so far?
Obviously, when we talked about it, it was Jefferson falling as far as he did, but that was, of course, predicated by the run of running backs in the scoring system. So that was kind of one for me. That was a little bit of a surprise. I would say also too, Jacobs going or James Cook's going. They're kind of a little bit early. Kind of falls in line with the rest of them as far as ADP. But I think there were other players on the board that I probably would have liked a little bit more there.
So who would you? Anybody currently still? Anybody that has gone? But I'm assuming you were taking.
I would have. I would have went with a H-N. Yeah, I would have definitely went with a H-N there for sure.
That's how you know this draft is what it is. RJ goes with Javonte Williams,
going early on the board
pick here. Wow.
Let's see.
That is his first running back here. it goes to show you how different this draft is. I mean, it is definitely one of those that, you come out of this thing and don't have good running backs, you will not do well.
No, that is absolutely true. You do have to have kind of that running back depth built in for sure. That's really the best way to compete in a league like this. I know, for case in point, last year, losing, this was one of the leagues last year where I lost Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins in the first 2 weeks, but I was able to rebound, made a couple of trades, got into the playoffs. So, all is not lost when you're losing some of your running backs like that.
Sure. I mean, it definitely takes, picking up the right guys, making the right trades, making the right moves. So big Nick's energy. All right.
Yeah.
I think he could have kept his former name.
To Williams. Yeah, that's Javonte Williams is definitely a little bit of a reach there for sure. But I mean, if you want to look at some of the positive reports that have been coming out here lately, that's a lot of people are getting excited about him for sure.
Speaking about reports, but that's just something Aaron Jones, I have completely 100% not been on. I can't see it this year. I just can't.
No, that's definitely he's another player that I put in my article of Fantasy Pros for 3 running backs set to bust. He was one that I talked about in depth in that article as well. Just do not like the projections for him this year, for sure. I don't see it. He's another guy that kind of consistently stays banged up and hurt. So for me, I'm just not a big fan of Aaron Jones here in 2024. But of course, that was your brother making that pick. Follows by Jalen Hurts coming off the board there. Najee Harris, DK Metcalf,
James Conner. Certainly somebody there that I was considering.
Solid pick there by Farley with the DK Metcalf pick there. I like that. James Conner, like you just mentioned, coming off the board. Let's try to get these picks finished and put in. So we got Michael Pittman, Williams, Mixon. Holmes, Jones,
Samir White. So gonna go with, I think, somebody here. I'm just checking out some numbers here. Yeah.
There we go. Getting the board up now, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, keep some of this going here. Jones, Hurts, Harris,
DK.
Yeah, Metcalf,
James Conner, Samir White, and now I'm on the clock.
Conner, Zamir White. Positive, a little bit of a positive report that came out earlier today from Antonio Pierce on Zamir White. Pretty much confirms all the priors on Zamir White that he's going to get all the early down work for the Raiders, and that the other guys in the backfield, Madison, Dylan Lobb, we're going to kind of mix in a little bit on some passing down situations and spell Zamir, but
it's Zamir, Zamir.
Correct.
Sitting here on the board here, I am on the clock here. I've got a couple of different directions I can go. I think I know which way I'm going to go here. I'm just going to check a couple little pieces and nuggets of info, but
kind of feel I know where you're going to go here.
Do you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Potentially, I have a feeling where you're going to go. Probably going to take a guy that you've been very excited about. I'll say that.
I think you're actually incorrect on that.
Okay.
I am going to go. right here with a guy that I think is going to continue to ball out. Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, the elder statesman of fantasy football.
That is correct. He is the man there. Is a walking 1,000-yard, 10-touchdown guy.
True. Do you have any worries whatsoever about him potentially taking a step back with the second year Baker Mayfield, Dave Canales no longer there with the team? You think that might kind of change things up?
Man, also, if it was going to happen, it was going to happen last year, man. I mean, if Baker Mayfield, let's face it, I mean, that's all he wanted to do was throw the ball to Mike Evans. So
true.
That is the pick. Sticking with it, happy with that pick. Let's go.
So here we are. Got one pick right in front of me. Will be Neil on the board. I kind of know what I am looking at doing here. Whether or not it makes it to me is the other question that I'm looking at currently.
I think you feel like you thought that I was going a particular direction.
True.
Nah.
True.
It's not a bad thought, but oh man, just sitting here watching this Colorado game and Shadur Sanders is getting knocked up.
Yeah, because I'm looking back over my shoulders. First chance I've really kind of got to look back and check on that game. They are currently losing, which is
Debo was the other guy I was considering there with Debo's rushing yards there, but
that was actually going to be the pick that I was going to make here. I didn't think Neil was going to make that pick, so that actually changes some things up for me. As we are here in round 4, just gonna studying the board, see what's available to me there. I think I know what I'm gonna do here with this pick, but I want to make sure. I want to look kind of at the rest of the board, see what's there. Just some of the options, the potential options that could make it back to me is what I'm thinking. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the trigger on it, and I'm going to get it. We're going to take Mr. Anthony Richardson.
Figured, yeah, that was what I figured you were going to do. Yeah, again, I thought about it. Man, I've got him in our biggest league, and man, I just do not want to have him. I probably should want him, but it's a good pick. Let's just I'll quit. It's a good pick.
Yeah, it's more or less like I said. Is that a pick that I want to make in a regular standard scoring type of fantasy football format? Maybe it depends. Just depends on what my roster build is going to look like. But outside of really with this league in particular, we've already talked about it kind of ad nauseum at this point. Is the rushing yards. You get a rushing type of a quarterback in this particular type of a league, it really kind of sets you up nicely from a scoring standpoint here. So that was for me.
First tight end off the board here.
First tight end off the board going to Mr. Justin G. Also the other new blood in the league this year, taking the first tight end off the board with Sam Laporta. So we had just to kind of wrap the round 3 up here. We had Cooper Kupp was the pick, followed by Sam Laporta, followed by Jalen Waddle. Yeah, new colored on the board. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So now we're getting to the end of round 4. And kind of just looking at how things are playing out right now, most everybody, as I'm looking at the board, most everybody has gotten 2 running backs, some with a 3 running back build there at the end with your brother.
3 teams have 1 running back.
Yep.
1 team has 3.
Yep. Your brother down there on the end is going heavy running back down there on the end, going to punt the wide receivers, it appears. So far, we have another red off the board as Trey McBride is now the pick to Rick to end round 4. So how do you feel about that? Laporta, the first tight end off the board, followed by Trey McBride as the second. Obviously, we've talked about this previously on the tight end show that we did a couple weeks ago. We have a run of tight ends now going.
Double
Rick,
tight end to Rick here.
Rick goes double tight end.
Come on, Rick. I think you're trying to outthink the room here. Come on, buddy.
So how are you thinking about that? How long?
I mean, tight ends are okay in this format. You know, I tend to think in an opposite direction. Maybe. I mean, again, I like these guys in a regular draft. I think I would be going a little bit heavier after them, but yeah, not as much in this format. That's my take.
Yeah, no, I know he's a big Taylor Swift fan, and that probably factored in quite a bit into the pick with Travis Kelce. But I think he could have taken Travis Kelce and then taken another player at a different position. Is kind of how I'm looking at that there. So we got Ayuk there. So I am on the clock, but let me get the picks on the board here. We have now had Tank Dell selected, followed by DeAndre Swift, and then Brandon Ayuk, the newly signed Brandon Ayuk. Coming off the board there. So back over to me, just kind of looking at how the board's playing out currently, seeing what's there. I want to see how the rest of the board looks here currently. Yeah. I know I want to get back into the wide receiver game here. So that's going to be my pick here. But now it's going to be what particular wide receiver do I want to take? Who's my next wide receiver ranked on my board?
So you have how many wide receivers? One wide receiver.
One wide receiver so far. So let's go with, and it's a coin toss. But for me, let me go with the guy that I think is going to probably get more targets guaranteed, a little bit possibly more of a higher upside in the ceiling here. And I'm going to go with who I thought you were going to take last round.
So putting me back here.
I went with Malik Neighbors here in round 5 as my wide receiver 2. Is the pick for me here. Yeah, it was definitely a coin toss here. There was a couple players that I was looking at there. And so a little bit more of a tougher pick there. And then Neil goes running back.
Rackamondre. So I'm going with the other guy who I almost took this last round. We are going to go homer pick DJ Moore.
Was the other guy in my coin toss there.
Yeah, no,
it was
definitely.
It was either going to be DJ Moore or Malik Neighbors for me. I just went with a guy that has less target competition. Is what I was doing with that pick there.
Less target competition, less throwing the ball.
Offense,
go a couple of different directions with that.
Offense is not as good, obviously. Quarterback plays, objectively probably not going to be as good, but they're going to have to funnel targets to Malik Neighbors quite a bit there. That was kind of my thought process there. But like I said, apples to oranges, splitting hairs, whatever you want to say.
To lemons, whatever.
Potato.
So looking at the draft here, I'm just doing a quick redo here.
Mm-hmm.
Just taking a look. Yeah, I mean, definitely divvying from my normal format of what I've had, and I guess some of our more regular leagues that we've done.
Sure.
Usually, I've only been going one running back early. I've been kind of waiting on the running back position until a little bit later. But this format, again, like we've talked about a couple of times here, I don't think you can wait on running back in this format. Definitely somebody I want to have some hosses up front, knowing I've got some guys getting some yards. So definitely something I want to be able to take. So definitely divvying from the normal format, which you see a guy here like, you've got DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors, Brandon, Jalen Waddle. These guys have been going about a round earlier than what we've been taking them here tonight. So, again, take that with a grain of salt. But I think the thing to look at when you're looking at these, how I know I used to look at experts drafts, before I, started doing them and before I started doing some of these higher end drafts.
Yep.
Don't necessarily look at the round these guys are going in, but look at the order these guys are going in. And that's the important thing, is looking at the order these guys are going in, and continuing that up, because that's really the more important thing is, hey, these are how these guys who know what they're doing have them ranked. So my rankings need to kind of mirror that a little bit, or at least to very much understand like where ADP's at in there as well. So
sure. So now we have Stephon Diggs is off the board. Both Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs were taken here in this round, in round 5. Dale over here at the pick 5-2. Then we have Stephon Diggs pick 9 in round 5. Kind of agree with that as far as placement. How do you feel about that Texans wide receiver rotation? What's your take on it currently?
Yeah, I mean, I've told you, and I know you disagree with me, and that's fine. I do think Diggs is going to get a lot of play here. I don't think he's done. I know that's the popular take. You got the younger guys there. Diggs is not going to be done. Like, I think that's just a crazy misnomer that Stephon Diggs is done. He's gone from Buffalo, but you're going to an offense to where, who did he have in Buffalo around him last year to be able to shield coverage? Nobody. You had guys in a good division there throwing their best cornerback out at somebody out there. He was given a lot of shadow coverage out there. So I think it's definitely somebody that, at least for me, I don't think he's dead in the water. And I'm not drafting him as that. I've got him a lot of times as my 3 out there, and I love him as a 3, especially too in a best ball format. I think especially if you can get any of these guys in a best ball format, that's going to be exactly what you need and what you need to be looking for out there in your drafts.
Yeah, that's definitely how I've kind of lined it up.
What's your take on him? That's what I want to know. You don't like him?
I do not. I do not. Yeah, I do not like Stephon Diggs this year. I think that's the rapport that we've seen already in place between C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. I think is still going to be heavily utilized this year, whereas Stephon Diggs is going to kind of come in and mix in a little bit, playing out of the slot, more of kind of a chain mover type of a guy. But the thing to watch for, and really is the biggest wild card for me with Stephon Diggs, is how much of a malcontent is he going to be if things aren't going his way early on in the season. That's a very big wild card for me. And if he's on the sidelines, throwing a fit, not getting the ball like he demands, I think that's going to affect him in a very negative way, and that's going to keep him from really reaching the potential of what you might think about him currently.
I would agree. I mean, I think he's coming in a situation where, look, he's kind of put himself in this situation. I mean, it's definitely somebody that, on his end, I think if he'd have kind of shut up a little bit more, you may be in a little bit better spot. So
got a little bit some movement on the board now. Finally, you're getting there to the end. Your brother finally takes his first couple of wide receivers there here in this draft.
Almost forced to.
George Pickens and Terry McLaurin as his 1 and 2. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, McLaurin's not bad. I mean, if you've waited as long as you're going to wait, I mean, I think there's a couple other guys on the board that I think I would prefer to have for those guys, but yeah. Somebody I don't prefer to have over those guys is Dak Prescott, who just got taken.
Oh, wow, yeah, Dak Prescott going. They're ahead of other quarterbacks like C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love.
Very interesting. I mean, he finished in a lot of formats there pretty high last year. I'm going to go with a pick here. I'm going to go back to the running back with a guy who is just he's going to be getting a lot of play. There's not a lot there to be able to compete with carries. And if you watch Summer Hard Knocks, you will know how much the New York Football Giants love this man. I'm going to go Devin Singletary. I don't think he's going to have a just baller year, but had him last year when he was on the Texans, had him in this format, and he's good for 60, 80 yards a game. He's probably not going to touch 100 that much, but as a running back here in round 6, as a guy who can play in my flex, I like the guy, especially going out and getting a couple of receivers like I did here. Probably would have gone Brian Robinson or Tony Pollard had they fallen to me here. So they did not. So there's my pick.
I got you. That's definitely going to be a guy that's going to be heavily utilized as the running back one in the New York Giants backfield. Like you mentioned, he's been in that system before. Uh, he knows the wordage. He's definitely got a familiarity with that team.
And I know you're on the clock here. I'll bring up the sandwich between us goes Jonathan Brooks to Neil Lowry. Like the Jonathan Brooks pick early on, his injury though, and placement on the pup gives me a little pause for concern for him. He is not even a year removed from his ACL surgery. So, he is a rookie. He's probably going to take a little bit of time to be able to get caught back up. So a guy that I was hoping would kind of be back in the fold at this point, work his way that way, second half of the year guy, still probably going to be second half of the year guy, but
sure.
Definitely somebody I would say I've taken a little bit more pause now than otherwise it had if he was not being placed on the pup list, I think he would be somebody I would absolutely be targeting at this point right here. But he's definitely going to be a second half guy.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be a guy that you're going to want at the stretch run fantasy playoff time. The only question mark I have with Brooks now is, how much will the team be forced to want to run him out there and give him that usage if they're already out of it? They're not going to be in the playoff hunt, thing like that. So that's something that I've kind of been questioning, especially with the pup news. But I'm under 30 seconds now. I'm on the clock. The third guy that I was thinking about possibly taking in the previous round is still on the board, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger on him myself right now. Positive news on Mr. Rashee Rice, and if you've listened to this podcast over the last few months or have heard me on the other podcasts, I have been long saying that Rashee Rice was not getting suspended this year, and that's basically been all but confirmed now. So Rashee Rice, the pick to me, they're wide receiver 3 on my team, followed by Mark Andrews is the pick right back behind me.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a couple times with Rashee Rice. I mean, does it look like he's getting suspended? Even if he does, I mean, let's face it. I think it's still a good pick in the offense that he is in. I mean, he is the top wide receiver option in that offense. So definitely a guy that I know I talked up a whole lot last year. I think this is about the spot that he would have been otherwise going anyway. So yeah, no, love the pick, love the area. I mean, as your number 3, I think it's a very solid move.
Yeah, that kind of felt like it was the given pick there as a 3, a guy that has top 15 potential. Just absolutely great pick there. I had him one spot behind Malik Neighbors in my rankings right now, so just felt like the obvious pick to me. He was still on the board. I still need to fill out 3 starting wide receivers. We mentioned that at the top, so
I mean, and this is why I like the format right here. I mean, it's you got to get 3 receivers. You feel like by and large you're going to be starting a running back in the flex spot with a point per 5 yards rushing. So you feel like that's going to be the case. So yeah, it's I think Rick, who's already taken 2 tight ends, might go with the 3rd right here.
Yeah, this is what it feels like, right?
No, I mean I no, he did not. Okay, cool. Never mind, man. This ESPN, man, freaking ESPN, dude. I've touted ESPN for such a long time here, and they are just pissing me off here.
Christian Watson. Let me get the
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Dirty Joe.
Slanging Joe Burrow
here. J.K. Dobbins was the pick here at the end. I'm back on the clock. I already know who I'm going to take just by looking at the board.
Another quarterback.
Absolutely. Yeah, just wanting to kind of get the board kind of back up to speed here. Rick went Dobbins, followed by Zay Flowers. Then Austin Eckler was the pick there. Then Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray. So Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, and then back to me. So yes, I already know who I'm going to pick.
Do you?
I do.
Let's see if I can guess it. Hold on. Let me take a quick peek here at the board. Okay, I know you go.
So what's
Yep.
the guess there? What do you think I'm going to be
going?
jumping
Well,
into?
I don't want to give too much out there, but you're going running back.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's the pick I'm going to make here.
I think you would like to go with Jalen Warren, but with his injury question marks, I think you're going to be going with a guy either third or fifth down the board there.
I'm going to be taking the guy that's really the top running back on the board for me right now. Let me double check my rankings. Let me go ahead and get a third running back on the roster. And yeah, it's a guy that I have at running back 24 right now, currently ranked. A guy that was one of the highest scoring running backs in all of fantasy last year, Mr. Raheem Mostert. Yeah. Come on down.
Come on down.
As my RB3 in this backfield, I'm getting a guy that has that, again, obviously top 10 potential in that
going back to the well here.
That offense.
I have played this quarterback waiting game about as long as I possibly can, at least on my side here. We had a couple quarterbacks. Probably would have taken Joe Burrow in this format. In a normal format, I would probably pick CJ Stroud over Jordan Love, but Jordan Love, with the rushing in this league, in terms of points, he actually outscored Jordan Love actually outscored CJ Stroud last year by about 30 points. So Jordan Love is actually going to be my pick here. I've gotten him in a couple leagues here. Big fan coming into the year this year, especially with those little extra yards on the rushing side. That is where I'm going to go.
So you go Jordan Love. He does offer a little bit of the rushing upside. It's odd to see CJ Stroud fall like he is currently. Followed by
if somehow he had gone right in front of me, as an example,
right,
I would have been fine taking CJ Stroud. I really would have been. And there's the other guy that I probably would have probably been pretty close to going with, that old J-Far took, and that's Jaden Daniels. I think with his rushing upside there, he's definitely a guy that I would have been possibly taking a look at to be able to target down here, backing him up a little bit. I still want a special with a 6-point passing touchdown. And I think that's what gives me just a slight bit of pause on a guy like an Anthony Richardson, is he's got to rush for somewhere over north of 70 yards a game for him to be valuable at all, because he's not getting the rushing touchdowns. Like, when he was getting some of that play early last year, Jonathan Taylor was not in the game. He was hurt.
No.
So that's the only thing that's going to give me just a little bit of pause, with these guys is, for 6 points of passing touchdown, I'd actually probably maybe rate Jane Daniels just a little bit higher in this format, just with that ability there. But yeah. Also too, it's kind of interesting. I know you and I talk about it, and unfortunately you can't see it on the board where you're at right there. However, just the difference in rankings when you do a sleeper draft versus an ESPN versus sleeper ESPN or Yahoo or any of these other sites. Just the differences that you see from one side to the other and how they have some of these guys ranked is always very interesting to me, and where to be able to play kind of those rankings there as well.
Absolutely. That's something too that I've seen, already kind of put into motion. There's some articles that are available out there. I know, Fantasy Points has done an article that really kind of dives in and discusses the rankings and the differences on them between the different websites. And it's something that's really key. Like you mentioned, is knowing how the rankings are on the format that you're playing on. Being able to identify potential guys that are down the board that shouldn't be down the board.
Finding the hidden guys, like why the heck this person is ranked so much lower in the format than this person is always very interesting to me.
Absolutely. That's the thing. And that's the biggest thing there is, there's guys like, looking at the board here, Rashee Rice was further down the board than he probably should have been, probably not factoring in the news. And I'm able to get him at a pretty solid discount there, just because of where he is located on their rankings. So
Sure.
then we got down here to end round 7 to begin round 8. Your brother goes Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram goes with the 1-2 punch of the Jacksonville Jaguars receiving core. So plucking them off there, followed by George Kittle, Chase Brown, which I would love to kind of get into and talk about that as well, followed by Kyle Pitts. Chase Brown, how are we feeling about that backfield there with the Cincinnati Bengals? Chase Brown's starting to kind of gain more steam. He leveled off there for a little bit, and then the reports with Zach Moss possibly still handling a majority of the early down work, but now it kind of feels like that's back to 50-50. How are you feeling about that backfield?
I mean, I am always tending to go with the younger guy. So Chase Brown probably would have been my target here with this upcoming pick here. He definitely would have been somewhere that I would have gone. So yeah, I mean, I think Chase Brown is going to be the guy that would, like I said, that would have honestly been the next pickup here for me. That's for sure.
Closing in on your pick there. That's we got one more before you pick, and there it is off the board. It is Deontay Johnson was the pick there, so that's going to put you on the clock.
So we had a little bit of a tight end run here. Right in front of us, we had 3 or 4 tight ends go here on the backside. I'm looking at these guys kind of as the same person here. So don't think I'm going to go to that well here. I don't think. Let's see here. Look at one other thing. We got 1, 2, 3 teams behind me do need a tight end, namely you. And the next 2 teams, I am going to guess that is not going to make it back to me. Even though I don't necessarily love Turd Ferguson, I think he is the top-ranked guy left here at that position, so I think we're going to go there. Sorry, B.
Yeah, I knew that was going to wind up being the case once I saw that tight end run happen. I was going to wind up getting kind of stuck in the rear end, so to speak.
Yeah, I thought about going there with Love and just again, I think if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're just gonna suck. But tight end is basically right there, and I had a feeling we'd get that run there, but yeah, had to do it. I don't really care for a lot of those other options down there as much. So
no, that's definitely something for sure. It's for me, you can really kind of play matchups at a certain point when you get to a lot of these guys that are on the board now. So we have David Njoku coming off in front of me, who was not even on my radar. Wasn't even thinking about him whatsoever.
If Joe Flacco was the quarterback there, we'd be having a different conversation. But
sure, no, not at all. So looking at.
You got a zig when everybody's a zagging, so that means you're going second quarterback and then hoping to trade Rick for his. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, sure. That's what we're looking at there. But no, there's some things in play here looking at. Yeah. But I think I'm going to get back into, and I believe what I would like to do here is going to stick with the wide receiver position myself here. We're going to kind of jump back into that well. I'm going to get another guy that's a number 1 target on an offense. That offense probably is going to be playing from behind a little bit this year as well, playing in a high-scoring division. Going to be going Mr. Cortland Sutton is the pick that I'm going to make here.
Is it the first time you've gotten him this year?
I believe so. I've just not been really on a board where I've been able to get a hold of Cortland Sutton so far. But wide receiver 4, I think there's good things happening there in Denver. Bo Nix starting to look good. We'll see how long that lasts. I mean, you and I both we've seen a lot of Bo Nix in our time down here in SEC territory. So I've not been the biggest proponent of Bo Nix. But I think there's a lot of opportunities for targets in that offense. Sure. Then picks right behind me, we had Jaden Reed come off the board, followed by Keenan Allen off the board, right behind me. So that was Jaden Reed, the first of the Packers wide receivers coming off the board. Keenan Allen, the second wide receiver Bear off the board. You have DJ Moore. So what are your thoughts there with your Keenan Allen newly
Dante going
signed?
second quarterback already. Wow. Huh.
No, Dante went Jerome Ford, sir.
Oh, sorry. That is ESPN's
Jerome Ford, and then that was Rick down at the end.
There we go. Okay, that I was going to say.
CJ
What
Stroud.
in the world is going on? Okay, there we go, and we're back. What was the question? Keenan Allen, Bears receivers that we were talking about here?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Keenan Allen as a Bears fan? You know, you've signed him in this year.
You know, I think he's going to be that over the middle target hog there. I think he's going to be, you know, we're going to have those games that's going to be a Roma Dunze game, you know, there that he's just going to be the guy in that offense. But I feel like DJ Moore is the elite receiver there. That you're going to have him have, you know, a lot better games than the other two guys here. But, you know, I think each guy's going to kind of have his game. I look at it a lot like a Packers situation. I look at it a lot like I do the Texans situation. You're just going to have a lot of guys out there that are going to get a lot of play. It's all about just picking them that correct week there.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be something to kind of keep an eye on. We have, speaking of another Bears receiver, we had Jackson Smith and Jigba come off the board to Rick to start round 9, followed by Rome Odunze to round out the trio of Chicago Bears wide receivers. A little bit of a discussion point coming out today is that a member of the Bears coaching staff did say that, or there's a beat writer in Chicago did say that Rome Odunze is not there to be the wide receiver 3. So what's your thoughts on hearing something like that come out of Chicago?
That's awesome. I love that he does not want to be the wide receiver 3.
How do you see that from a fantasy standpoint playing out?
You know, again, I don't really know who's going to be the guy week in, week out. I mean, he's somebody that I think, you know, especially if one of the top 2 guys get hurt. I mean, Rome Odunze is probably a top 24 receiver in that offense. I mean, he does, especially dynasty league wise, he does have a lot of play, you know, with Caleb Williams on a long-term basis. So definitely something that I want a lot of pieces of that.
Sure.
You know, again, but you know, I don't know who's gonna do what in that offense. So I think I want pieces, but it's gonna definitely want more of those guys in a dynasty league, you know, than anything else.
Very true. I'll agree with you there. I do like him though this year for sure. I think there's definitely some possibilities to where you're going to see a player like a Rome Odunze kind of really flash in the second half of the year. For sure.
You are up here, just FYI.
Oh yeah, no, I'm looking.
Okay. All right, just making sure.
Yeah, yep. Checking the board, just kind of seeing what's there. There's just some options. I'm gonna kind of play a little bit of a game of chicken. A little risk here. But
interesting. So not going tight end then. Got it.
No, not at this rate. Just because of what's there. Yeah.
Okay.
Players that are still on the board, but what I'm going to do here is going to go with the aforementioned earlier, Jaylen Warren, coming back from injury as my RB4. Arthur Smith in that offense. I think there's going to be a chance where Jaylen Warren's going to mix in heavily. I think there's some upside there. Got him as a guy that's going to be obviously a player that I'm probably going to have on my bench for good portions of the year. But there's a good chance that that upside is going to play itself out for my roster there too. And you can't have enough running backs in this league, in this format that we talked about. So Jaylen Warren was the pick there. We've got now Neil back on the clock.
The sandwich pick.
The sandwich pick between the two.
Sandwich Neil.
No. So looking at how my roster's playing out so far as we're looking at the board there, I've got Breece Hall, Rashad White, Nico Collins, Anthony Richardson, Malik Neighbors, Rashee Rice, Raheem Mostert, Cortland Sutton, Jaylen Warren. You started off your draft with Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Drake London, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Devin Singletary, Jordan Love, Jake Ferguson. Uh, so far, uh, based on how the board has kind of fallen, I'll say this: I do, even though I don't like the Aaron Jones pick, your brother there at the end, Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Etienne, Aaron Jones, Jalen Hurts, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. It's not bad. It's pretty solid. I do like that, how that's kind of come together.
I don't.
He doesn't have a bona fide wide receiver one. Obviously, you started off your first 4 rounds without one. So obviously your wide receiver is going to take a little bit of hit that way. But the guys he's got, there's upside there.
I think you basically have a. I do not like Aaron Jones this year. I do not.
No, I don't at all.
I do not think that's a good pick. Did your chicken just get called there?
No.
Brock Bowers. Okay. All right.
No. I'll catch up the board here in just a second.
Yeah. No. Well, now everybody behind you already has a tight end here.
That was kind of how I was.
Respect to you and Dante, I think are the only ones left. So
yeah.
And then I went with Chuba Hubbard there, a guy that up to this point, again, I thought Jonathan Brooks was going to be coming back. Doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon. And I think, again, when he does come back, he's going to take a little bit of time to be able to catch up. So, I'm looking at week 6, week 7 would be an early scenario for Jonathan Brooks being any kind of meaningful thing in this offense. So I'm gonna ride that and I'm gonna go Chuba Hubbard, who was the man, and I drafted him last year as a 5 in a lot of my drafts, not really thinking that Miles Sanders was going to be a thing. So, again, somebody I really haven't taken a whole lot of in the format, again this year, just because I thought Jonathan Brooks would be a little bit more ready to go. He's not, so I'm loving this pick just a little bit more here.
Yeah, definitely going to be a guy. I had him in this league last year as a guy that I used because of the injury situations that I had at the top of my running backfield with both Dobbins, both Nick Chubb off the board and out. So Chuba Hubbard was a guy that was really kind of doing a lot of work last year. You saw it down the stretch. He was a guy that was getting a lot of usage, a lot of yards on the board, and that was helping mightily in a format like this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think this is just like you just did with your pick here very recently as well. I think having that 4th running back position, especially just to cover those bye weeks and have a running back in your flex there, does a world of wonders. Gus Edwards is good. What's your take on Gus Edwards?
They're joining Jim Harbaugh and the staff over there. And Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, they used Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins with Baltimore in recent seasons, so they're kind of familiar with how things are going to look there. So I think early on in the season, we're going to see a lot of Gus Edwards. There's going to be some usage there. Obviously, was banged up a little bit earlier on in training camp, so that was kind of something to kind of keep an eye on. But for me, I think that's a wide open backfield. There with the Chargers. Obviously, the talk is they're planning on really running the ball a lot in that offense. So that's, for me, something to kind of you're playing you're really kind of playing a gamble there, is to know which running back is going to be useful week in and week out. Ezekiel Elliott. So good pick there by Mr. Charisma there at the end with a 10th pick of round 9, Brian Thomas Jr. That was actually a guy that I was possibly targeting on the way back around if he would have still been there. So we got DeAndre Hopkins followed by Xavier Worthy to round out round 9.
I am definitely not like you. I am not a Brian Thomas fan this year. I think he is a rookie that is going higher because he has that R behind his name there. I don't know. I think that situation is just somewhere that I don't want to be a part of. If I did want to be a part of it, I'd want to be in a Christian Kirk who's been there for a while. Gabe Davis is probably going to come in, in a best ball format and have, a couple good games. I think, Brian Thomas is going to be one of those guys that have a couple good games. But I think by and large, it's going to be a Christian Kirk kind of a year, in that offense there. So Brian Thomas, not somebody year one that I wanted to have much of a part of.
Sure. But I do like the upside. He's kind of like what we talked about with Jonathan Brooks earlier, is a guy that can be project out long term down the stretch. I think as he gets acclimated more into the offense, we've seen there's been that separation in preseason. The stats don't really kind of prove it, but we've seen the separation on film so far, and I think that's going to be something that's going to help Trevor Lawrence. He's going to see that separation down the field, and he's going to want to target that specific type of a player. So that's why I like Brian Thomas. I think it's more of a projection out in the long term, not something that I'm going to be like, I'm going to start this guy in week 3. No, I want to be able to start this guy in week 13 when the chips are really on the table.
I don't see it. I don't see myself, if I draft him, that I would ever start him again, barring an injury. You know, somebody like Rome Odunze, I feel like could have, depending on the matchups, could have an amazing week. Somebody like Brian Thomas, you know, again, barring injury, I don't necessarily see that he is going to be somebody that I would be wanting to touch here. Bill goes Blake Corum right in front of me. Still got other guys that I would want to take over him, even though I've got Kyren Williams. Would have loved to have the handcuff, but I think it's still a little early. I think we've got other guys out there. So at this point, for me in my draft, I only have 3 wide receivers at this point so far. So I'm going to go with a guy who I really like. He's injured right now, but I think once he comes back, he will be startable, and like a guy like Brian Thomas, and that's Hollywood Marquise Brown. Coming off the board here, round 10. You know, somebody that, if he was not hurt, would probably be going about 2 to 3 rounds earlier here. So, you know, again, somebody who early on is probably not going to be starting for me, but
sure,
you know, somebody that I can leave on the bench for some of these bye weeks here. I do not have a bye week here until week 7. On my current receivers, he's bye week 6. So I imagine hopefully by the time we get back in that next bye week here, we're going to be utilizing him. B-Merch is on the board here. What you say?
Jared Jeudy off the board there. I think what we're going to do here is we're going to finally – my plan came to fruition, and we're going to pull the trigger now. Was able to play chicken long enough with the backside of the board, not taking a tight end. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the tight end pool here, and I'm going to take Mr. Dallas Goedert as my tight end 1 here. Will be my selection.
How do you feel about the oblique injury here that he is currently dealing with?
Well, I mean, that's going to be something. He'll be ready come week 1. Obviously, there a lot of teams are going to be cautious with injuries right now. I mean, we've seen it. We talked about it a little bit earlier on with Puka Nacua and how that injury was elongated with the knee injury that was discussed. But now that we're getting close to the start of actual regular season football.
All right.
Got our first defensive player off the board. Let's see here. Let's see. But behind me, we had Jameson Williams come off the board. Then Max Crosby comes off the board. First defensive player in this IDP league. Then Dante, the other team needing a tight end, goes Pat Freiermuth, then followed by Jacoby Myers.
I mean, I will be honest. I mean, at the level that you played that, I mean, if Goddard is healthy for an entire season, I do, and I'll say that I do have Brock Bowers ranked. He would have been my next ranked guy. I have him a little bit higher than you know. I think with having Gardner Minshew there, he is a little bit more prone to throw to the tight end than somebody like Jalen Hurts would be. So I think that would have definitely been my guy there. And yeah, now Dante actually does go with the backup quarterback and takes Caleb Williams there. Very interesting, to say the least.
Let's see here. So goof that.
Do we have everybody with a quarterback? No. RJ with no quarterbacks just yet. I think he was the only team.
Did wind up goofing that one up though.
What's that?
I said I did wind up goofing that up on the board here. I didn't put down Jerry Jeudy for Neal, so I've got them swapped on the board here. So Dallas Goedert actually on there. Let's see, Jameson Williams, Max Crosby was the pick there. then Fryermuth, then Jacoby Myers. Back over to me already.
Doug, and Rico Dowdle there. Were you thinking at all about a little Rico Dowdle action?
No, I was not actually.
I don't know why you weren't.
Just because of the news that came out this week with all the Dalvin Cook signing now. Leads a little bit more of a confusing situation there in that backfield for me. So
maybe it's after having Dalvin Cook last year that I just don't see it whatsoever there. So it has not even been a consideration that he could be something. Not even he got added, did not add him to my board.
Let's see here. What do I want to do?
What do you want to do?
That's a very good question.
I feel like you and I are looking in the same area per usual.
Yeah, because I think I'm going to go back to running back again.
Not shocked.
It's just a matter of which guy that I want to get.
Which?
And another coin toss situation for me here. But I'm going to go and take Jaleel McLaughlin here at this pick.
Well, it's hopefully between him and one other guy for me.
So let me catch the board back up. So we had Jacoby Myers. We had Brian Okereke. Oh, yes. And then you did mention the Caleb Williams pick, the second quarterback to Lamar Jackson there. Interesting.
The first backup quarterback taken. Yeah, definitely. I think in a league where you take Lamar Jackson so early, I think you let it ride.
You have to
maybe go out and go grab
the risk out.
I'd go out and grab. Well, I'm not even gonna say the guy's name because let's face it, I'm gonna be taking one of these guys here at some point. But I like the pick with Jaleel McLaughlin. I have gotten him for sure in some of my drafts here so far. Think that he is. I don't think, at least at the very beginning, he's going to be the man. Interesting. Yeah, I would not have gone. Hawkinson's somebody I probably would have targeted here pretty soon, but no, it's a good pick by Neil. Somebody that you and I think, have both liked for a very long time here. That I definitely like this guy, and I think by the end of the year he will be taking over as the lead dog in Minnesota, and that's Ty Chandler. Big Ty Chandler fan. I can see him, taking the reins at some point. At the very least, we're going to go, halfsies in that offense there, because as Aaron Jones continues to age, again, I just don't see him being upright and mobile for the entire season there in Minnesota.
Yeah, that was the other guy. It was the coin toss situation again for me there. I was looking at either Ty Chandler or Jaleel McLaughlin. I pulled the trigger on McLaughlin. Just for more than anything, it's the Sean Payton effect. Hoping that we're going to see a lot of Jaleel McLaughlin catching passes out of the backfield was kind of the mindset with that pick for me. I've been a big proponent of Jaleel McLaughlin during the entire offseason. So I'm okay with that pick, especially as my running back 5 now.
And what you and I had originally talked about happening did in fact happen. That Samaje Perine did get released. He is gone out of that offense now. You've got Javonte Williams, you have Jaleel McLaughlin, you have Audric Estime there as well. But I think Jaleel McLaughlin, should we have a little bit of falter by Javonte Williams or he gets back hurt again, which he has been prone to do, somebody that I think Jaleel McLaughlin, I think is going to have a role almost kind of no matter what in that offense.
Absolutely. No, I will agree with that. And we're seeing it play out in the preseason too. They have definitely utilized him quite a bit in that offense as a pass catcher in preseason games, especially and even with the starting offense. So that's kind of something else there as well that I like. It makes me feel like he's going to be on the field even with the starting offense and getting more opportunities than what you might think right now.
Yeah, I am I'm in agreement there. I was chatting with Jacob Fisk there. He's normally the first one to take a linebacker here, but
that was already done.
He was the first one to actually take a team defense. That was his first thing this year since Bobby Okereke had. I mean, was that Okereke that been taken, or
yeah.
Let's see, or is that
it's Okereke off the board?
Okereke.
Yeah, Okereke first off the board there for a linebacker. Linebacker is definitely a go-to position for some players in this type of format.
Not as valuable as what they were before you made the scoring change there. I would have been taking a linebacker super early. You made a scoring change to what was the old scoring format there?
That's what
tackles
I was going to get
and total tackles.
Yeah, they were getting double counted for tackles. When I took over the commissionership of this league, noticed that the linebacker was getting double credited tackles. So I was like, we can't have that. That doesn't count. So we took away the double tackles and gave just the points for one single tackle. And that definitely does change things a little bit.
It does, yeah. And I mean, you play the format. You got to be one of those guys that, hey, that's what the format is. I'm going to go out there and adjust for that. So,
and then finishing up here at the end of round 11, your brother takes Joshua Palmer, a guy that you and I both like, former Tennessee Vol.
Yeah, would have been, probably if I didn't take that fifth running back, probably would have been my target guy in this last round. There's a couple of guys I have ranked kind of right there, but again, as you and I have talked about, in this league quite a bit, I would rather just this format specifically. I'd rather go ahead and take my chances on a fifth running back even before I take a fifth wide receiver there, which is definitely not something you and I would otherwise be doing. There in most other leagues that we are in, but I think in this format, we get one of these number 5 running backs to hit, being able to deal him off and be able to upgrade another position, is going to be huge. So,
absolutely,
I think having some of these guys here, that's better or worse. That is the game you got to play.
Yeah, and that's the thing is kind of looking at, last year, case in point, like I mentioned earlier, is taking all those injuries at running back, and I was extremely, extremely thin. And you really just kind of have to work magic at that point to be able to round out a roster, make some trades, pick up guys off the waiver wire. It tests your mettle as a fantasy manager to be able to encounter adversity like that and still make the playoffs and be competitive when you're getting hit hard like that.
Sure.
So that is the case in point tonight. I'm 5 running backs in deep right now, and the guys that I have on the roster I feel strong about. So we're looking good currently. I do like what we've kind of put together at this point.
I know I'm certainly a fan of my draft so far. I don't know about you. yours may look a little bit different now. Let's see.
We got Jalen Wright, and then now we had Darnell Mooney come off the board. How are you feeling about Jalen Wright there? That pick to Mr. Charisma, Justin Farley, who has now went 3 straight. He's went 3 straight rookie, backup, or third string running backs on this roster.
I mean, you got Chase Brown down there. I mean, I think it's a good pick. At this spot. Let's see. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 receivers. I think I would be locking up a backup quarterback position a little quicker than what he's showing right here. But no, I mean, it's, again, just like we're talking, I mean, you've got to have one of these guys that you think could go out and be a hoss out there. And I think that's what you need to do. So I am probably actually going to go in that same vein here. Let me just double check my board is still showing the way I think it's showing here.
And then Demario Douglas was just taken right in front of you by Beal. Like that pick. Demario Douglas is just not getting a lot of love from the fantasy community.
I've been taking him in a lot of drafts so far. I have him ranked a little bit lower down than some of these other guys sitting on the board out here. But Yeah, no, I think he could be a very, very, very good pick here.
Yeah, I just think there's such an opportunity for targets in that offense. I mean, obviously they announced today Jacoby Brissett's going to be the quarterback come week 1, and I think that's a bonus for a guy like Demario Douglas, who's going to be open all over the middle of the field and early. And I think you're going to see a guy like Jacoby Brissett really try to target him early and often. You made a pick of the guy that I was going to take next. Thanks, appreciate that.
You're welcome. Hey,
I was going to take
that's what I'm
Shakir.
That's what I'm here for.
Shakir off the board.
I think Tupac Shakir is going to be probably the lead dog on that wide receiver core there in Buffalo. I've been taking him as a 5, a 4 or 5 in a lot of drafts here so far. I think we saw enough out of him last year to where I think he's got a lot of room in that offense there. So love that pick at this point.
Yeah, and kind of based on the usage, based on the depth chart, the injury to Curtis Samuel, he's locked in pretty much as that number 1 option for the Bills from a wide receiver perspective. Obviously, Dalton Kincaid's probably going to get a lot of the targets, probably be the most targeted.
You see some Keon Coleman in there as well. I mean, he's definitely somebody that's going to get some play, but the more elder statesman as of 2 years, Khalil Shakir. No, I like that pick. So
yeah, no, that's definitely one I would have made here. So for me, I'm going to stay in the. I think I'm going to stay in the wide receiver room here, just looking at my rankings, see who's there, what I like, because I do need to kind of get back in there and get me another wide receiver here on this roster. I've only got 4 so far. Just checking the board, see where we're at. Got 2 guys that are basically ranked back to back, and it's a matter of who to take over the other. One's an upside play. One is a more of a Mr. Steady Eddie. For me, I think. Let's go ahead. Let's shoot for some upside here.
You're right. Oh, then that means that pick is 1, 2, 3. Oh, there could be about 3 guys over there you can do that with.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to do it. We're going to shoot for some upside here, and I'm going to make the selection of Raheed Shaheed.
That was the first guy, and I thought maybe a rookie that was out there, but no, that he is somebody right there along the same vein that we were talking about there earlier with Shakir. That no, I think he could be getting a little bit of play in that offense there as well for sure. So
yeah, definitely a guy that's heavily used from an air yard standpoint. That's something that kind of sticks out with Raheed Shaheed, and it's kind of led a lot of people to really be excited about his possibilities in 2024. Is if that extra usage in the wide receiver room, on the field, what if some of those air yards were to hit? There's just a lot more scoring opportunities there. And let's be honest, the Saints are probably going to be bad this year and trailing quite a bit. So they're going to have to be in positions where they're going to have to throw the ball.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Oh, yep. And pick off the board right behind me, Khalil Herbert. Still technically the number 2 running back for the Chicago Bears. A lot of speculations were that he might have been potentially traded. Was that what a lot of people were thinking? Did not happen. So now he is locked in as the RB2 for the Bears. Then to round out the last 2 picks here, so we've got Khalil Herbert followed by Mike Williams off the board, followed by Jordan Mason as the handcuff to Christian McCaffrey, going to Dante. Smart at this point in the draft, I would say. It's very smart. Then Rick to round out round 12, going to go with Old Man River down there, Adam Thielen, who put together a solid first year in Carolina last year, but they now have
And we're back.
Deontay Johnson there. So that's
Interesting. Oh, it's a good look at Dante.
grabbing his handcuff. Yeah, I just talked about
Look
that.
at him. Yeah, especially since Mitchell has gone down there. It's a fine pick at this point.
Mm-hmm. So then we start off the round. Looks like we got TJ Watt to Rick. Now we're getting into some IDP guys. Aluakon.
What's your thought on IDP guys? Where are you? I know you're falling in not to the first guy, but not necessarily maybe the last guy to take one. Where are you? Falling in at these guys?
My thing with a lot of these, the IDP guys, for me especially, is I'm gonna play the matchups mostly week in and week out. You're gonna see me on the waiver wire, really kind of going after guys, picking up players, playing matchups week in and week out. So I view them as really kind of like team defense too. I'm going to take them towards the end of the draft. They're just not going to be guys that I'm going to go target and put on my roster early. So that's just how I view that with that situation. How do you view?
I'm kind of right there with you. Unless somebody is just sticking out like a sore thumb, is like, why am I not taking this guy? Like that's usually where I'm going. I mean, I want somebody that I can go out there and unless I'm just week in, week out tossing that guy in and just knowing I'm having a positional advantage, like what Watt used to be a couple of years ago. He was just head and above on the D line, above everybody else. So he was somebody that like I would go after early. But I don't think there's really that guy in these drafts much anymore. In my opinion.
No, there's definitely not. There's a lot of fluctuation there you can go with. So I was just on the clock, took my pick. I went back up quarterback.
Sure was thinking about it.
And took Brock Purdy, who is still ranked as a QB1 in this format. Probably will finish around that line as well. Puts me in a situation now where I'm covered in case Anthony Richardson were to get injured. I do have a steady option behind him, a guy that can play in Brock Purdy. Now re-signed Brandon Ayuk, so we're definitely looking at all hands back on deck for the 49ers in 2024. Felt like that was kind of the obvious pick for me there. I thought about it last round, but I felt like I could kind of wait around a little bit and still get my guy, and that played out.
I think that was a pretty solid move on your behalf right there. Is going in that direction there. So yeah,
because otherwise, at that point, if you were to take Brock Purdy or somebody else takes Brock Purdy, I'm looking in a situation where if Anthony Richardson were to get injured and go down, I'm looking at a situation where I'm starting guys potentially like Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be tough. With those type of quarterbacks in my lineup week in and week out.
Sure. No, I certainly was looking that direction right here with this pick. I mean, the guy right behind him ranked next on the QB board, Aaron Rodgers, probably wouldn't have made that pick, but I think with Brock Purdy, finished last year as a 1. I certainly had him in a couple of our bigger leagues that we had. Definitely was somebody I was considering with this next pick. With that, I'm not going back to the quarterback board. I think the value with Purdy would have just been so much right there. So I'm going to go probably my last running back that I'm going to take right here. And that's the newly minted number 2 in Green Bay, Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah.
Solid solution.
Yeah, definitely somebody. I've only got a couple of bid spots left to be able to take some guys here, but he is somebody that, I think previous to A.J. Dillon going down may have been somebody that I was like, but Josh Jacobs' old legs, I still think he's going to have a good year, but Marshawn Lloyd, I think he's definitely going to come in and at least have some action again. Later in the year, kind of a pick, definitely in this. This is the first time I've taken him, but definitely somebody that I would consider in this format over a lot of others. So that is the pick here.
Yeah, that's solid. I definitely thought about him too, but I kind of felt like I needed to go ahead and get
I
Get
think
my
in your
quarterback
spot, I would have 100% gone in your direction. I think with a guy like Anthony Richardson, I think you almost have to.
Very true. Yeah, it's
Josh
definitely you have to kind of
Hines
Allen. Yes,
you know, he was one of those in we had Mr. Charisma, Justin Farley's draft a couple of weeks back. I did not know who the hell that was and had completely forgot about him changing his name back there. So
Josh Hines Allen. There he is.
now I know who he is.
Followed by a little looks like I might have started the backup quarterback run. We have Tua Tagovailoa, followed by Trevor Lawrence as well. Trevor Lawrence going to Mr. Charisma. Looks like RJ is going to be trotting out the quarterback duo of Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. There.
Too bad he didn't. Too bad we didn't get old J-Far selecting T.J. Hawkinson or Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, he names his team Hawk Tua, but doesn't get either player to be able to accomplish that. That's unfortunate. I
feel like you would have gone Tua right there. I feel like Tua got taken one in front of him there.
Possibly. So that's the thing with, and obviously that's the thing with Tua, and I've talked about it kind of a lot at this point in time, is that he's definitely going to be he's got to have early on in the season and going to be very successful early on in that schedule. But once you get into late November and December, those last 6 games are an absolute gauntlet. And you're not going to be able to count on Tua down the stretch whatsoever. And inversely, possibly is going to be a little bit of a hindrance to a guy like Tyreek Hill. So I think that's going to be a situation that would help more benefit me with Raheem Mostert, who I drafted earlier, that they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more and kind of control games down the stretch.
Sure.
All right. So.
Oh, we got a timeout here.
Yeah, then we got Zaire Franklin off the board.
Well, he went linebacker after all.
He did go linebacker after all. And now we're to your brother to round out round 13.
Yeah, only a couple. I think you're in the same boat. Only a couple of bench spots left to be able to go here. So,
Yep. Yeah.
Gotta make some smart picks up here, B.
That is true.
Jalen Polk. That was the other guy who I thought you could have gone with instead of Rashid Shaheed. I thought it was going to be Polk. There's Antoine Winfield, who over the years has been a guy that I certainly have liked in some of these leagues here. Safety that just is making tackles left and right. So the Micah Parsons project.
Your little brother goes with Jalen Polk. And then takes my guy, Kamani Vidal, obviously. You figured that was going to happen.
Oh, sorry. I missed a pick.
And, yeah, Kamani Vidal, absolutely.
Vidal. Got it, okay. Yeah, no, somebody I was definitely thinking about taking there. It is Kamani Vidal. Vidal Sassoon.
And that's I was definitely all for Kamani Vidal, probably coming back around here, but that's obviously your brother has heard me talk about him nonstop, bringing him up whenever I can.
Yeah,
and then
I'm
going to take him.
I've kind of been in your boat there. I've been taking a lot of Vidal. Somebody that if I had gone Marshawn Lloyd, let's say I had gone Brock Bowers right there, like you had mentioned, I probably would have gone Vidal this way back. So good to know he would not have made it back. So
very true. And then a very smart pick, I'll say that, and one that I was hoping would probably make it back. Tyreek Hill, used as a tight end on ESPN, based on how they're talking about him getting used in New Orleans this year. We've seen it in the preseason, and we see Dennis Allen gushing over the man constantly at press conferences. That was definitely a guy that I was possibly looking at coming up.
Yep, I feel you. No, I probably again I have been a huge fan of Taysom Hill. I continue to be a fan of Taysom Hill on underdog drafts there, but really definitely want him in more of a best ball league. I just cannot foresee using him in a format like this. Week in, week out. I can't foresee it. I want to. I just can't see doing it there. I don't know when the hell to start him, B.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Yeah, if you're not playing him, if he's on your roster in a redraft where you're actually managing the league week in and week out, it's harder to justify because you don't know when to start him. But with underdog best ball formats, it's absolutely a better play with a guy like Taysom Hill because you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. He's in your roster.
I gave you the tease. Take it.
Give me the tease. What?
Yeah, underdog. Promo code.
Oh, Woo. Promo code Woo on underdog to get you some extra cash on underdog. So definitely go and use that promo code Woo on underdog for sure there as well. But also to definitely give it, like I mentioned before, give us a like on this video here. We would greatly appreciate that. Well, helps us out. Jared Goff coming off the board now.
That's me right there, baby. Well, Goff
coming off the board to you. The guy that I have as just outside QB1 range. Definitely very good guy to have as a backup quarterback. Sturdy option, high powered offense. You're not really losing much there with a Jared Goff. So a solid pick as a backup quarterback.
No, love him as a backup. I think you made a great pick with Brock Purdy and his offense that's there. I mean, you get a guy like Jared Goff, he's going to throw the ball. So,
yes. So let's see what Neil can do here right before I am up on the clock again. And he goes backup quarterback as well with the guy that I'm not going to touch him with yours, as you would like to say sometimes. Deshaun Watson is the pick.
Oh, man.
Just no interest there whatsoever. I don't think
maybe he's a 3. Maybe in an underdog thing, maybe he's a 3. I just can't trust him as a 2.
I can't trust him at all. I just don't think that he has a willingness to want to play football now. That's my thing with him. He's got that big contract, and he's shown that. My shoulder. Oh, I can't throw today. I'm going to throw every other day in training camp. And it comes off to me as a guy that he does not want to play football anymore. And for me to try to count on a player like that on my team, I'm just not going to. I'm going to avoid the headache, and I'm going to let somebody else deal with it. So that's how I'm looking at that. So I'm back up on the clock here. I think I'm going to go and take one of my last 2 bench spots here. Get another wide receiver here that will give me my 6th wide receiver on my roster. And once again, I'm going to target a guy that's kind of been a little bit forgotten somewhat is what I'm looking at here. But actually, you know what?
We'll switch.
No. We're going back to it. We're gonna take Romeo Doubs as the pick here. I was wavering.
Fantasy favorite Romeo smoking a Dobbs here.
Yes, definitely a guy that we have liked over the years. Liked him coming out of Georgia. Once he signed on with the Green Bay Packers, we saw it early on. Once he made his way onto the roster, he's definitely been a guy that's the coaching staff has loved. Their red zone target. Definitely a guy that factors in down low. So that's something I like about Romeo Doubs as a wide receiver 6 on this roster. That gives me that kind of a flexibility.
Sure, I would agree. Definitely somebody who I had considered taking with my last pick. I'd say one of the more seasoned guys on that board over there. So yeah, really good pick.
And let's see, then we got Stafford. We'll try to get caught up here to end the round. So we've got, after me, that was Kirk Cousins off the board, followed by Tyler Conklin was the next tight end off the board. Then we had Myles Garrett as the selection next. Matthew Stafford to end round 14. And then coming back around with, looks like Brian Branch there as well to start off round 15. Brian Branch. So, yeah, now I'm in a spot, one bench spot left, and then it's all IDP players, defense, and kicker left to go for me.
It's where the rubber meets the road right here, B.
Jesse Bates. Yeah, this is where championships are won. This is what we like to say.
As they say.
Yes, as our good friend Mr. Philip Hampton would like to say, this is where the championships are won, ladies and gentlemen.
Where championships are won.
And then we have Roquan Smith.
And I think too, some of y'all might be seeing this what we're doing on our end. You and I ain't looking at the board on ESPN too much, maybe just a little bit here, but you and I keep our own boards and everything here to where I think I'm absolutely paying attention, a little bit more attention to that than I am some of the other things out here as well. So definitely something that I am paying attention to out there for sure on my end. Is my own board, not necessarily what ESPN tells me I should be taking.
True. Absolutely true. So I am on the clock. My last bench spot, probably. This is a guy that I've found myself taking quite a bit here lately as a backup tight end, and that's what I'm going to do here in this spot and fill in my last open roster spot for as far as bench spot. I'm going to take Hunter Henry, tight end, New England Patriots. And that feels no. It's I wound up got caught up on the wrong end of the tight end run earlier, so I missed out on those top guys, but was able to get a guy in a Dallas Goedert as my one. So now I'm going to put myself in a position with Hunter Henry to where I can really kind of play those matchups and look. Hunter Henry now this year with the New England Patriots, their new OC. Last year in 2023, called the second most tight end screens in the league. So Hunter Henry is definitely a guy that I think is going to be utilized in that form this year and more down low as well. I think more of a scoring threat in 2024 for a team that's going to be trailing quite a bit, like we mentioned just a few minutes ago.
Vontae David coming off the board here. I am going to go back to the Homer well and go linebacker here. I do have a bench spot left. It's a guy who's a little bit further down the board that I think I'm going to wait to be able to take. But linebacker definitely have ranked as the most important position to be able to have post taking all your bench guys. We're going to go Bears tackling machine TJ Edwards right here for me. Love the man. It's all he does is make tackles, so we're gonna keep up with that here and go in that direction.
Definitely, was a thing that the Bears did last year. They brought in two linebackers during free agency period. TJ Edwards was one of them. Did perform well last year, like you mentioned. Very, very high in terms of tackling. So in this scoring format, it's definitely a guy you want to kind of get as a guy that's going to get tackles week in and week out. Followed now, we got the 49ers defense coming off the board.
Team D,
49ers. There.
And followed by a kicker.
And now we got the kickers rolling off the board.
Rolling quickly.
It's kicker time, ladies and gentlemen. Kicker time.
So now that you and I have just a little bit until we get back to our picks here, we're round 15 sitting here, starting to get into the defense and special teams here with the portion of the draft. How are you feeling about your team? I mean, you got Breece Hall, Rashad White, Raheem Mostert as presumably your flex guy with Jalen Warren backing him up. really solid start. I mean, 4 guys who are all going to be in the mix. Mostert and Warren, maybe as part of a committee. Who knows what that's going to be looking like there. How are you feeling about your team so far?
Really, the way I'm looking at it right now is my team is probably going to really be carried by the success of Anthony Richardson. If Anthony Richardson is what I believe him to be, especially in this format, and can push to be overall QB1 potentially, then this team that I've put together so far tonight, I think, is championship level team. Is a championship level team. Based on the start, I don't like that I missed out on the tight end. That's definitely one thing that I regret. But based on how the board fell to me, you're on the opposite side, the wrong side of a run. Just didn't work out in my favor. How are you feeling?
Sure. I mean, I feel like I'm right in kind of the same boat here. I also missed out on that tight end run, but I think having that quarterback is a little more important. Had I known that where I was at, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray went a little bit in front of me there. So where I really wanted Jordan Love, he was kind of my target coming into this draft. More important than the tight end position. So I was happy to make that pick over there. No, I think I've got 3 extremely solid wide receivers. London Evans, who I have as back end ones. DJ Moore, who I have as a very high number 2. I think one of Devin Singletary, Chuba Hubbard are going to be starting in the flex every week for me, and completely fine doing that there. So I've got as I usually have, I have a very well balanced team here, and a team that I think is going to be right there in the end in the championship there as well.
Travis Hunter with a ridiculous catch there.
I see this. Very nice. I was hoping North Dakota State was going to upset them there, but Colorado's made a little bit of a comeback here, made it interesting.
Let's see. So Quincy Williams. Oh well. Linebacker, to the point where I'm filling in these linebackers, and it's like, All right, so we got Quincy Wilson. Or Williams. Let's see. New York Jets linebacker. And then Ernest Jones, the newly acquired Tennessee Titan. How are you feeling about that? We kind of mentioned that.
Man,
tapped on it yesterday.
Their defense is, holy crap, is it much improved, man. All the guys that they've got there on that defense, they have gone from an afterthought really quickly under Denard Wilson to being somebody that maybe even fantasy worthy here. I mean, you bring in L'Jarius Sneed into this offense there. You've got Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons in there, bringing a guy like Jones. They've added some other pieces where I think they could be halfway decent here. So,
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That's they're kind of coming together quite nicely. But
right on brand, Jay Farr with Justin Fields.
Hoping for some late season magic. How do you feel about that situation? Russell Wilson's been named the starter. So that's definitely, you mentioned that too. That's his 3rd quarterback. So feels like that's kind of a hedging his bet, so to speak. He's got Jaden Daniels, he's got Trevor Lawrence, and now Justin Fields. How are you feeling about that? That feels a little odd going 3 quarterback deep.
Yeah, I mean, you almost gotta hope you get a guy like Lawrence and be able to trade him and hope somebody else has an injury right there. I think I would rather take my chances on maybe a 6 running back or something like that versus a guy who even if he does see the field later on in the year, Fields later on in the year, I just don't. I don't feel like that's somebody I would anyway would be starting week in, week out, even if I knew today he was going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, no, I feel like that his the thought process is on that front that Justin Fields is going to get quickly named the starter into the season, and that rushing upside is going to allow him to have flexibility between Jaden Daniels and Justin Fields to make that trade, like you were talking about, possibly with a Trevor Lawrence. I think that's the thought process there, is that Fields becomes the one in Pittsburgh and is putting together QB1 numbers from a rushing perspective to be able to trade off Jaden Daniels or Justin Fields. That's what I'm thinking. It's still a large gamble and a large bet to make, but you got to do that. I mean, if we're looking at his roster right now, he goes Jahmyr Gibbs to start the draft, Justin Jefferson, which we liked, good 1-2 punch to start the draft. Then Joe Mixon, who is going to get used a lot. I like the DK Metcalf pick. I like the Calvin Ridley pick. Very strong start through the first 6 rounds, and it counts 7 rounds with Jaden Daniels. That's a strong starting lineup there, in my opinion, in this format. Then we start to hammer in on a lot of these the backups. Try to get some upside there with Chase Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Trey Benson, Ray Davis, Jalen Wright, Trevor Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Xavier Leggett, and now Justin Fields.
It's going to go with a guy that I've had a lot over the years here. That's some Derwin James action.
So we got...
Always like me some Derwin James.
EJ Speed is the pick there after the Jets defense. You took the aforementioned Derwin James. So let's go here. Let's see. Speed. Update this here real quick.
Stay clean, B. Don't do it. Oh, speed. I thought you were talking speed. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, we're doing. We need a little bit of something this late at night. Let's see here.
You gotta go defense here, or defense and special teams. You are down to it.
Yep, and that's what I'm gonna do.
I hope so. You kind of have to.
Not the biggest proponent of them this year, but the best that's on the board currently right now, and I'm gonna go homer pick. We're gonna go with the Dallas Cowboys defense here. Now that pick's more predicated by looking at the board behind me, because I thought about going linebacker there, but just for the sheer fact that I have teams behind me and I goofed up there again too on the board, so let's swap those 2 picks around. But the teams behind me there all have linebackers, so I knew that this defensive special teams this run was gonna start behind me, and it looks like it has. The Steelers coming off the board, followed by the New Orleans Saints coming off the board. So I kind of felt like that was about to happen. Good thought on my end there.
Sure. Whatever you say.
We got the defense run coming over here in round 16.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of defense I like. Steelers were definitely there. You know, you look at the Steelers schedule here this year. By the way, if you still haven't drafted, go look at the Steelers schedule all year. They have got an incredible schedule to be able to take advantage of this year. So
for sure.
If you do have a league where you have defenses, team defenses out there, I think that is definitely one of my top defenses. That I know I have to be able to go out there and be able to target. So definitely, somebody on that front that I would certainly be going out there and trying to get.
Yeah, that early season schedule against a lot of lesser offensive squads, we'll say that, and definitely a chance to attack that for sure.
Chike Okonkwo, somebody who I have not even considered drafting this year.
Who is really kind of honestly splitting time with the other tight ends on the roster currently, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
it's definitely questionable. There's
Fairbairn.
We're getting down into the thick of it here. Finish up the draft, and everybody's kind of running through their picks quicker. And Bynum. Cameron Bynum. All right, so where are we at here? I'm going to go and let's get the rest of these caught up here. Chiefs defense. Fairbairn was the pick there. Chigo Okonkwo, like you mentioned, which was a very blah pick. Devin Witherspoon. Where you at, Devin? There's Devin. And then Bynum. All right, so puts it back on me. And yeah, that's what I was thinking I was probably going to do there. And let's go to my good old linebackers here. And I'm going to go and take Azeez Al-Shaair at linebacker. Exactly. Get my linebacker out of the way.
Azeez, light.
Yes.
What movie is that from? Come on.
It's The Fifth Element.
Yeah, good man.
Fifth Element.
It's little brother's favorite movie there.
Oh man, it's a fantastic movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's as soon as you said that, I was
Azeez, light.
Yeah, it's I love that movie. But I'm also a big Star Wars nerd too. So all of you out there that are there with me and love some Star Wars, and if you've not seen The Fifth Element, I don't know how that's possible. Definitely go check that out. Amazing movie with the late Luke Perry in the first part of the movie.
Ruby Ride.
Which trivia, which co-host here will not know anything about, but Luke Perry, his son
was on Beverly Hills 90210.
No, his son is a wrestler for AEW and is currently the TBS champion with the promotion. Okay. a little, those, my guys out there like Joe Pisapia with Fantasy Pros. Me and him are both very big wrestling nerds.
Yeah, Bears D, baby. Speaking of the other amazing schedule there, woo, that Bears D, baby. They have got some cake this year, especially toward the latter part of the year. They have got some cake freaking matchups to take advantage of.
You and that nice homer pick there. You gotta love it.
I mean, I'm really and truly every league pretty much is I really spin the Steelers every draft because they have just got some great matchups out there. But the Bears right along with them there. They have got some really, really good matchups there to be able to take advantage of early and down the stretch. So easy pick for me after the Steelers left.
The additions to the defense, like we've talked about that all year. There's definitely some upside there with that Bears defense. Eberflus knows what he's from a defensive standpoint. That's no question about that. And under the radar defense, I think that kind of gets overlooked is the Houston Texans.
I agree. I had also, I was considering them because I haven't really taken a whole big look. Championship, the last week 14 bye, week 15 the Dolphins, week 16 the Chiefs, week 17 the Ravens. Pretty tough matchups there.
Sure.
For some teams down the stretch, again, sure, you can go in there and you can mix guys up by and large, but if I'm going to be drafting a defense, I want to be able to start that defense there, late. So definitely somebody that, again, I don't necessarily want to be switching those guys out. And I don't necessarily want to be dropping a big defense like that, having to play the matchups there in championship week to where, hey, the defense I just picked, they're great, but I'm not going to be able to start them in championship week there.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing with when you're projecting out those matchups and you kind of look further on down the board is how's my championship playoff format? How are those matchups looking? How are those lining up? And you kind of have to project those out. But that's the thing too with some of the defenses. When they have some of the earlier bye weeks in the season, you're more than likely potentially going to drop them, pick up another one, and so you're kind of back in a mode where you're going to play a little bit more of the matchups further on down the line.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, again, I think it's one of those things to where if I'm going to do that, that's great. I'm going to probably wait, on down the board, and I'm going to go get. Oh, who was I taking a look at earlier? If I was going to go week to week, I mean, you've got some defenses you can take on down the board just a little bit. That
Mr. Charisma obviously
week
listening
one,
to the show and picks
week one, New York Giants. I mean, the New York Giants coming right out of the bat, playing the Vikings. Vikings come into New York on the road. That's an improved defense. If I'm gonna absolutely just play the matchups week in, week out, that's probably defense. I'm just gonna wait till the last round and then go for it right there. So nice pick, little brother, going Braylon Allen. I'm surprised you didn't back up Braylon Allen with your boy Breece Hall there. Here at some point instead of Henry. But yeah, interesting pick there. I've taken Braylon Allen in a couple of drafts so far. I think now that the path has been cleared just a little bit for him to be the backup, he's been looking, as they say, strong in some of these drafts here. So we have a couple of teams on auto draft going on. What's going on here, B?
Probably out for the rest of the draft. I mean,
right.
We see this a lot too with our towards the end of the drafts. You've already kind of gotten your starting lineup and your guys mostly in place.
Getting a little late here.
Getting a little late
on the East Coast.
10 o'clock here in Central Time Zone. So, but I did mention a few minutes ago too. At this point in the draft here, you're really kind of looking at guys that are not going to be on your roster come week 4, week 5 potentially, because you're going to be playing matchups a lot with these defensive players and things like that. So, really doesn't matter when you get down to this far in this low point in the draft. I think you're just kind of
I gotta go
bringing guys in.
Yeah, my computer is going down here. I'm gonna have to.
About to go on the fritz there. So then we got Reed Blankenship is the next pick. So we got Reed Blankenship off the board, followed by Brian Burns, the newly acquired Brian Burns for the New York Giants. Terrell Bernard, linebacker with the Buffalo Bills. Alex Singleton coming off the board there. And then we have Juwan Johnson coming off the board as a backup tight end there as well. So, obviously, getting into a lot of these defensive players like we keep talking about. The Juwan Johnson pick this late as a backup tight end, that's definitely can be intriguing. Depends on how things shake out with Taysom Hill and the rest of the target group there. Just Juwan Johnson is a player that's just been an enigma for me because I like him. There's some upside there. You would think that Derek Carr would utilize him more, but again, it's also Derek Carr throwing the ball to him. So kind of leads into some underperforming weeks for Juwan Johnson. It's hard to trust him. Burns. Bernard. Get things caught up here. Alex Singleton. And the Juwan Johnson pick. Nick takes Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end for the Detroit Lions. Not a bad pick there. Nick Bosa off the board next. Leaving it to me. So that was Aiden Hutchinson. That was Nick Bosa off the board to Neil. Let's see here. What do I want to do at this point? We're going to take Hmm. Let's see. Guys behind me. That's that. Yeah, so let's go. Let's go ahead and get a kicker here, and let's go with Mr. Young Wei Koo. It's going to be the
Young Ho
pick.
Koo. Actually, it's pronounced Young Ho.
Young Ho Koo, the pick for me, which now leaves me down to defensive lineman and a defensive back to round out my draft in the Woo Fantasy Invitational 2024.
What's your rankings look? Oh, there's Dalvin.
Okay. Young Wei Koo, and followed by Jake Elliott, and then Dalvin Cook. The newly signed Dallas Cowboys, who knows, third string running back.
I thought it was to the practice squad there, if I remember correctly.
Well, he'll be on the practice squad initially, just to kind of get caught up with team activities and things like that.
Okay.
But he'll actually get moved up to the active roster because they did cut Malik Davis. They did cut Royce Freeman, so they're really technically only carrying two running backs.
Clearing the path.
Oh well, those were cut. Those were cut during the cut down day. There you go.
Rounding out last two rounds here.
Had to go several picks down the board to go be able to put Dalvin Cook on here.
I had to actually just punch him in.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm talking about on the board that I'm currently projecting.
Oh, there you go. So what's your board showing here at this point with 2 rounds to go?
Let's see here. Xavier McKinney. Let's see. Currently, with 2 rounds to go, me and Dante are tied up top projection wise. Defense.
My board's showing something different, but all right.
Might be a scoring thing then, possibly.
Could be.
Patrick Queen coming off the board.
Patrick Queen, I want to be your partner. Can't you see?
Alexander Madison to Dante. Alrighty. So that was Xavier McKinney followed by Patrick Queen. Let's find Patrick Queen. And then Xavier. You see Alexander Madison. Oof. We're digging in deep.
Maybe if I had some White. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be the only time I would touch Alexander Madison would be if I have Zamir White and I'm just hoping he doesn't get injured. But I mean, we saw everyone get duped by Alexander Madison last year. Severely underperformed as the lead running back.
I did not. You and I did not. You and I were all about Ty Chandler. Not that that's any better. I mean, toward the end of the year, he's actually doing really good. But Madison was going way higher in drafts there. So we did not. You and I did not get duped by that.
No, I was not buying into that whatsoever because that was a lot of people were just looking at it from a usage standpoint, expecting, all right, I'm going to get the guy that's the starting running back for the Vikings. He's going to perform like Dalvin Cook has performed. Or they're basing it off of the small sample size of Alexander Madison, what he's done in Dalvin Cook's absence.
In mop up.
Yes, and it was just not good. Brown. Derek Brown. All right, so we got Madison followed by Odell Beckham Jr. coming off the board. Gonna have to find him on here.
A bit down the list, I'm sure.
There he is. Odell Beckham Jr. and then Derek Brown. Derek Brown, there you are. There's Derek Brown. Alrighty, so let's see what I got here to work with. All right, so let me take a crack at safety Josh Metellus, Minnesota Vikings. That's who I will take here as my defensive back.
Josh Metellus Bennett.
Yes, Metellus Bennett. Which leaves me now with just a defensive lineman left to draft. Where are you at in that situation?
I had one more flex spot here that I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't hit a little flyer on another homer pick, Cole Kmet.
Oof. Maybe that pans out. Not hearing great things coming out of Chicago right now with that situation.
I am by far the highest ranked guy left at the tight end position for me. So yeah, happy to go that direction there.
So what do you feel about the reports of Gerald Everett running more with the first team than Cole Kmet currently?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Cole Kmet's definitely the younger guy there. I still like some Gerald Everett. I had Gerald Everett last year in a lot of drafts. But again, yeah, I think the talent is going to win. You see Cole Kmet, I think, coming over the middle, going to be catching some passes again. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a great year, probably the best quarterback season that a guy in Chicago Bears history has ever had. But yeah, Kmet for me is just he's going to be a rotational guy, somebody that out of what's left of the tight end position, I hope he can hit. And maybe somebody like you who may need a little tight end action, but then you got your backup there, Hunter Henry, so that may be a good shot.
Yeah, no, I should be okay. Barring injury, I should be okay there. Speaking of upside quarterbacks, we had Bill take Will Levis here in round 19. I have been a very big proponent of Will Levis all offseason. I like how this offense is shaping up. How do you feel about Will Levis and the ceiling there? Do you see top 15 potential?
Quite possibly. I mean, with some of the receivers that they have in tow there, I mean, I think it's definitely something that with his ability, you saw his ability and what he can do, there. So I think certainly that there are better picks out there. As we were starting to see kind of in some of these middle rounds, you get a guy like a Tua or Jared Goff or even Jaden Daniels in a lot of leagues is a backup. But I think once you get past those guys, there is a guy out here like a Will Levis who's coming in and he's a backup that could be somebody that can make some noise at some spot. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been very, very high on some Will Levis. I've got so many chances to draft him in underdog drafts this offseason. He's one of my highest drafted quarterbacks on there.
Sure, and in a league like that, I definitely think he is a little bit more the man there. I mean, he's definitely somebody that I think in a best ball is certainly somebody that I would grab a little bit more of and see what happens with. So.
Oh man, so we've got Jonathan Grenard picked here, and there it is. I was like, where the heck is this guy on the board? Kicker, Cameron Dicker the kicker, coming off the board. And then followed by McPherson, followed by Cairo Santos. Chicago, Cairo Santos.
Starting the last round, round 20.
Yep, bringing it home. Coming down the home stretch, ladies and gentlemen.
As Brandon always loves to say, putting a bow on it.
We're going to put a bow on this draft. McPherson, Cairo Santos. I like to see everybody subscribing to the draft your kicker on in the last round method there.
That is me. that is for sure.
Yeah, that is generally what I like to do in most cases. Bengals. Miles Sanders selected. Oof, and oof.
Triple oof.
Minka Fitzpatrick. And
Brisker.
That was the other guy that I was.
Was that who you were going for here?
That was the other guy. I was when I took Metellus. That was the other pick that I was wavering on. So we got.
He should be good there.
Santos. Got the Bengals defense. Miles Sanders on the board. Let's catch this up. So we got Minka.
Minker.
Which, there he is. I was like, God, I must have overlooked him. Then Brisker. Minka in this type of a format usually is a big play waiting to happen. Definitely some turnover potential there. Pick six potential there as well. Kind of a boomer bust pick with the Minka Fitzpatrick. Not really kind of getting the tackles so much.
Oh, wow. He actually caught the ball. Holy crap. But short. North Dakota State catching the ball inside the 5, but
trying to come in at the end. No.
Cannot make it. So close.
Well, that's kind of how do you feel about that, man? That is prime. Coach Prime in Colorado getting all they can from North Dakota State. Now it looks like he's arguing with somebody on the field. Good Lord.
Yeah. Bob Hobbs going here.
Nate Hobbs, you take Jake Moody. Yeah, Bob Hobbs. That's a local reference. Yeah, keeping it local over here on the Woo Fantasy Podcast.
What position you got left to go here?
Defensive lineman. I think I know.
Let's see who I'd be taking if I were you. Oh, never mind. Ooh, I see the guy.
I'm pretty sure. No, I think
sack monster, but not much else. That guy. Yeah, I had him in the league last year in this league here. He was a monster.
So for me, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with your pick possibly there. No. Yep. I'm going to go with Chicago Bears Montez Sweat. That's who I'm going to take there.
Yeah, good pick. The guy I was looking at back on my board here. Holy crap, man! Freaking Zach Allen, D lineman for Denver. I picked him up in some leagues last year. Man was just getting tackles and tackles for loss and many.
A ton. Yeah, he was definitely a big tackle guy late in the year last year. So we got Tyrone Tracy. We got Jake Bates. Let's go get Jake Bates. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Who's
Mr. Irrelevant Justice Hill.
Justice
Hill going in a lot of drafts. I don't get it.
Yeah, I actually took Justice Hill in the Fantasy Pros Championship draft the other night. as my 6th running back.
Wow. Yeah, somebody I will not be taking. Doesn't matter the format. Just can't see it.
So we got Jake Bates, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So looking at how the draft has finished.
Let's see.
So
Now I got to really get up in there here. Let's see.
So the
who you got finishing up top there?
That's got you finishing up top.
Oh.
And I was wondering how like it might have the numbers factored in with how there's a couple of those rounds where I missed my pickup with Neil's pick. So I wonder how that might have factored in.
Got it. Okay. Let's go back there and do a little reversey there.
So that's on the Fantasy Pros draft analyzer. But if you go into the Rotowire app, it's got, looking at it right now, it's got me, Neil, and Dante in essentially a 3-way tie at the top.
Yeah, we must put in some different stuff there. I got Dante on top with Doug, you, and me off by 0.1 points.
Yeah, definitely some changes there. But no,
it's bottom, Mr. Charisma.
And in the very bottom on Fantasy Pros, it's got Mr. Charisma at 11 and your brother at 12.
Right.
I don't know. Let's just kind of go back and look at the board here.
Why don't you go switch those picks back and let's see what happens.
I can't really switch the picks because it won't let me the way I've got it set up right now. I can't go back in and change those. But yeah, no. Just looking at the board, what stands out to you the most? How this draft played out?
I think the draft kind of played out a little bit like I had expected the draft to be able to play out. A lot of running backs early. I think that the pivot there for sure for me was starting in about round 2, round 3 is when you start pivoting off of running backs and when you start pivoting onto wide receivers and quarterbacks and tight ends and some of the others there. Some did it a little better than others. Others didn't do it as good, but I think I definitely want to be strongest at running back in this draft. Point per every 5 versus 10. I mean, and the fact that you can start 3, you've got to have 3 solid running backs to be able to make haste in a draft like this. So definitely somewhere that I wanted to be strong at. And I think coming out of this draft, I've got guys that are going to be starting there, a lot of the year. I think is definitely as it compares to other running back rooms. I'm just taking a quick look here at the running back rooms. I think my little brother Pacheco, ETN. Again, I don't really like Aaron Jones, but Gus Edwards, I think one of those guys is going to be there for him.
Yep.
I would say Justin. Pick 10, Jahmyr Gibbs, Joe Mixon, Chase Brown, along with Trey Benson coming back over there. I think that's 4 really, really good options over there. Again, I like my 4 running backs. I mean, Singletary, I think, is going to be a third back there, getting him in round 6. So I was able to load up on some of those wide receivers a little bit there in the middle rounds. I think help me distance myself in getting a little bit better wide receivers than a lot of other rooms out there that are waiting a couple more rounds to be able to get their guys. I'm right there with you. I mean, I think your top 4, top 5 guys are going to be right there as well with mine. So it's just going to be who's going to get the job done at the end of the day.
Yeah, and obviously, kind of my miss, like I mentioned before, was the missing out on the tight end run that started there basically in round 8. But to had gotten that tight end, I would have had to avoided a third running back in round 7 where I got Raheem Mostert. So based on the scoring format, like we keep kind of mentioning, I couldn't afford to do that. I had waited 4 rounds between my RB2 Rachaad White down to Raheem Mostert, my RB3. I think that would have been more detrimental to my team had I drafted, let's say, Kyle Pitts here in this spot ahead where Raheem Mostert is on my roster. Because coming back around my team, I would have probably been looking at.
You could have been looking at.
I would have probably been looking at Jerome Ford there because I think somebody would have taken I think Mostert probably would have went to Neal more than likely. Had not gone to Neal, probably gone to Beal. And it's just pushing those running backs back around. So uh, I think I'm okay with that decision now that I look at the board and kind of how things played out. Running or the quarterbacks kind of pushed down the board a little bit further than I thought with this draft tonight, because we've seen a lot of these quarterbacks in drafts years prior, heavy quarterback in round 3 and round 4, and we only see 4 go off the board in this draft tonight. So kind of a little bit surprised by that, because you even filter in round 7, you've got 2 of the running quarterbacks there. You got Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels. Excellent value with those 2 guys this late in the draft. So I was kind of surprised to see those there.
Sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Again, Daniels is one of those guys that, I thought could be, available and was available to me. I think with, I wound up, as you'll see there right in the middle, grabbing Jordan Love in round 7. I like his passing upside along with the rushing upside right there. And I think, for me, at least that spot, the unknown of Jaden Daniels was not as comfortable as the known of what Jordan Love was going to be. I definitely was targeting Kyler Murray in that round. So had Jordan Love gone in the Kyler Murray spot, Kyler Murray would have definitely been my pick there at 7.
Yeah. Overall, it's a different type of draft than a lot of you probably have seen out there with just the scoring format and everything. So hopefully this was an ability to give you kind of more foresight into how some of the players look moving forward and going into your drafts this weekend. Hopefully we were able to kind of give you a little bit more insight from the analyst standpoint and the expert standpoint. So hopefully you go out there and crush your drafts this weekend. As for me, be on the lookout. Got quite a few things coming out over the next few days with Fantasy Pros, so be able to be on the lookout for that. Got my three sleeper running back article coming out. That should be out as well, so be on the lookout for that. Just finished up another article too for the fantasy standouts from the preseason. So some names that could make some noise later on in the season that we saw perform well in the preseason. So be on the lookout for those over on Fantasy Pros. But outside of that, I mean, we're wrapped up for the evening. Draft is over with. Any parting shots that you want to throw out before we wrap it up for the evening?
Man, just again, we appreciate everybody joining us out there. Don't look as much into where we're taking these guys. Look a little bit more at the order that we're taking them, and use that in your home leagues. Print off your own board, make something that you and your preferences out there, because I think that's only going to help you when you do your draft. So good luck in the last weekend, the last week we're going to have this year without actual real regular season meaningful games out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So get ready, get pumped to take down your drafts. If we've helped you in any way, definitely give us a shout out, shoot us a comment, go to the Woo Fantasy YouTube page here, leave us a comment, like and subscribe that. Tell all your friends and family too that this awesome podcast is helping you out there and getting you some money at the end of the day. But outside of that, leaving it for the evening on behalf of the co-host there, Nick Hefley at The Real FF Goat. I am the Roto superstar himself, Brandon Murchison, and we are Woo Fantasy right here, rotoballer.com. Until we see you next time, peace.